Thank you, Angel, and Heidi ho, everyone. Welcome aboard. It's good to have you here on Hump Day. Happy Hump Day to you all, and I hope it's treating you well thus far. Interesting. Was that a change of market sentiment I witnessed overnight, or was it just what you'd expect when stuff hits a certain level? Interesting. Let's have a look around the place. Well, firstly at the pound, of course, and see if we can work something out there. It's been a while, hasn't it, since we traded the pound versus the US dollar, but there's good reason for that. Yes, we're in a range so far today, but we've determined that the best way to get best value out of this is to trade the 2-day range. And the 2-day range hasn't been a range or a tradable range really for the last goodness knows however. Little ascending triangle sitting there, untested daily pivot. You'd fancy the chances of this going long for a short period at least, wouldn't you? At least to the daily pivot. Then what happens after that, don't know. So the range once again is too big to trade, and the reason is we would have to be taking a 127 odd pip risk. First 36. Let me have a little bit of a look at that. Just bear with me a tick. $34. And not much down the bottom side. 26. Yeah, it's not really good enough, is it? What I've been considering doing is adding another filter to this and going, okay, TP1, we do nothing except move our stops to entry, a la the gold trade that we took yesterday. Or was it the day before? Maybe it was the day before. Which of course got to the monthly pivot yesterday and smashed back off it. No, I'm not going to play this. I'm not going to play it. Let's wait until there is a genuine 2-day trade range and go with that. Let's go and have a look at that. Well, actually, we shouldn't look too much at it because hopefully Ainsley will be in a little while to go through exactly what transpired last night, whether it was a pure technical reaction off the monthly pivot or whether there was good reason for that rejection. We should take note, of course, that we traded the weekly bar here, and that's in absolutely no danger of being taken out at this point in time. Yet we determined, a la my system, that the safe way to trade this, it was an obvious level to take profit anyway, was the monthly pivot. But then I moved stops to entry, and that wasn't good enough because price came back rather viciously off that monthly pivot, a la, straight to the daily. Loves these levels, doesn't it? Loves the pivots anyway. Now we've got a double cross on the daily that has already been triggered. I'm not jumping back into that, but should we come back to the pivots here, maybe that's worth placing that order again. I don't know. I can't get back into it now, of course. Virtue of the fact that we've taken our TP1, which wasn't good enough. Well, the TP1 was good enough, but the trailing stop was not. You just can't jump in now. Maybe a bit later, but not now. I'd have to see a pullback now to get interested, I believe. Anyway, that's gold. There are quite a few other interesting things. Happy Wednesday to you too, Paul P. Exciting. No, it was an exciting night for me. I slept through everything, as always. And I didn't know anything until we woke up this morning and saw what had happened. And yes, it was very, very interesting. Agreed. As I said in my preview this morning, is there a change in market sentiment? And the guides I use for that are pretty clear. Aussie yen being one. And Aussie yen, we saw yesterday that big bar, but this was by no means the only currency pair that experienced such a thing. I find this extremely interesting because it backs up this scenario from the Fed, right? Remember the Fed statement where the market went straight into risk off territory and then responded back to virtually the breakout level. Now it's tried to go low again, came back to that breakout level again, and bang, last night, the market seemed to change sentiment from, well, this and this, I guess, higher high, higher low, to this, which is now, of course, a lower high and a lower low. I'm inclined to go with this momentum. And as I said in my preview this morning, you could probably do one of two things. By far and away, the safer of those two things would be to wait for what's occurring now, and that is a pullback. Really, I would like to see on a daily chart an inside bar today. That's not going to happen with this currency pair because it's already got a lower low. We'll see what happens there, but I'm of the opinion that this is going to go south. And I know we've spoken about this for the longest time. It seems both Ash and I were keen to get into this short, and both of us did, but no result at the end of the day. But now we've still got a double top. We still really haven't had a significant lower high. So I'd be still interested in that on the weekly chart. Maybe this is the beginning of that. I don't know. I really don't know, but it's a big statement, what happened overnight. I'd be interested to see what Ash says about that, whether it was fundamentally driven or otherwise. You've already seen gold and what it did, quite a few others, as I said, but that's, the market sentiment indicator to me is always Aussie yen. And if Aussie yen's going south, it's a risk off scenario, risk off market sentiment. The other pairs that we were interested in, and I'm still interested in this one, Euro Swissy. In fact, I replaced this order this morning. Still hasn't been triggered, and of course could just oscillate in this area above the trade line and within the pivots, the confines of the pivots. And if we were to get a higher low, then I'd then have to consider this is going back to the top of the range. And of course, there is a pretty clear head and shoulders. There's a little bit convoluted, the shoulder over the left side, but the right shoulder could well still be forming here as well. But I'm still favouring the downside. And that's based on a few things, not least of which, of course, is that we've now broken free and closed below that range and retested it. Not only retested it, but the weekly and the monthly pivots. And again, yesterday we got a rejection bar off those, but no entry, and still no entry today. Interesting. But again, you can see, well, not so much on this pair, but on quite a few, you can see that market sentiment change. The CAD's been interesting. You guys got it all right yesterday with the yen strengthening, and that was very evident, and that was all part of the change in my opinion, the change in market sentiment, which was swift and decisive. I'm as I said, inclined to go with that, but I'd like to see some pullbacks before I got into the action. So just repeating the trades that we're still, the orders that we've still got in the market. Euro Swissy on the daily is a short. They're the parameters, and the other one that we placed on the weekly chart was pound Swissy. That, of course, is still active and will be till the end of the week. Today, there were, I think, 13 or 14 key reversal bars. And like I said earlier, they were bloody big bars. And for that reason, it makes it very, very difficult to trade them. I think also you had a choice if you wanted to continue with that vein. There's another typical risk off scenario for mine. The market's gone from higher highs and higher lows. Well, still a higher high, I suppose, and a higher low. But the market sentiment just changed in what looks like a twinkling of an eye there. but that's a very impressive bar on a daily chart. And I think you've inclined to go with momentum there. That said, again, you've got an inverted head and shoulders. That was a neckline break and retest in one bar. So yeah, it's not that easy. I think today with inside bars on a few of these pairs, I'd be inclined to go short with that candle. But not with it today. It's too big to trade for me. But if I get an inside bar tomorrow, that makes my job a whole lot easier. I can trade the inside bar rather than the big rejection bar. So not too much new of all of those key reversal bars. As I said, most of them are just massive and very much too difficult to trade. I think the market's in a very interesting phase. This has not been an easy traverse through the post, I'll put it that way, the post-Fed announcement. It's been very much a case of, okay, are they not? Is the dollar strengthening? Is it not? And I think yesterday's little statement, not so much on the dollar, but I haven't checked the dollar because I'm not interested in it at the moment. I think it's too hard. But to me, the market has switched sentiment in that big sell-off overnight. Wonder what Ash thinks. G'day, buddy.
Good morning, mates. Interesting what you're saying there, mate. I opened the charts this morning and thought, right, I've got a nice setup to get short on the FTSE, but my opinion is completely switched around. So I'm actually looking for the long, and I will show you. Why. I might show you on. I'm going to show you on these futures, and the only reason is that that there might still. Do I need to show you on the futures? Maybe. Yeah. I'm going to show you on the futures because I might still get an opportunity to get into this, and and it means that I'll need to keep this chart open. So let me bring this up. 1 second.
Yep. G'day, Lewis. How you doing, buddy? Smashed it again, mate, on the yen pairs yesterday. Good on you. Well, I hope you smashed it. I didn't get the retracement I was looking for. It just kept going. So you got it, buddy, not me. Good on you. I hope you did. SF yesterday have a lot of big bars for most of the pairs. Not keen to win it. No, good idea, SF. Look, I think you could go with those bars and trade the bottom of them and put stop losses at the high, or vice versa if it's going the other way. But I think, well, having said that, Lewis got this completely right yesterday with euro and pound yen. They didn't stop. Maybe today for me, as it was yesterday, and it's always the case, I'll wait for that little bit of a pullback before I go with that momentum change, or what I saw as a momentum change. Sorry, mate.
That's okay. Right, we got my chart, haven't we? So when the market opened up here, actually, what if I can just bring this up so we got something with a few pivots that might be better. Here we go. Right, here we go. So this is what we're looking at. You like the new studio, by the way?
No, it's gorgeous. Looks great. Yes, absolutely.
Angel's done a great job, hasn't she?
Yeah.
So when this opened up this morning, so starting the look of this on the dailies, it did look like this was initially breaking down, and when I see this bar here, it suggests that that this point now there becomes a possible resistance line. Now that's a sell zone, and it's not too far away from there, about 14 pips away from there. So it still could fail here. Flipping to the 4 hour, we see the lower low. We're looking for the lower high there. Now on the hourlies, we were opening up at that level. So I was quite keen to get in on the short, and also on the 15 as well. We were kind of opening up on that level. So I was really keen to get in on the short. But as the market opened up, it seems to have opened up with some relative confidence. And if we come back with a pivot here, you can see that the pivots were just at this point here. Now I could see the confidence kind of coming back into the market. So I was just looking for a bit of a pullback and then looking for the market to go long. And that's still really my direction of travel. That's what I think is likely to happen if if the market does come back here. Now, obviously, it does still need to come back, but if the market does come back into maybe this level or at the daily pivot, at this stage, I'm looking for the long, even though that the longer term timeframes are suggesting that that this area could fail. We've now got, certainly on this 15-minute chart, now what we've got is a trend to the upside, because we've got this high here, this higher low, this higher high, comes back in, and what I'm anticipating is for the trend to continue. And I think the question that that everybody should be asking is, why do we expect the trend to continue? And the reason that I expect the trend to continue is that yesterday's news and data pointed for a weakening. In fact, it pointed for strength in the economy, in the UK, in the US economy, but weakening strength in the US economy. So what does that mean for, let's say, to start with, the dollar? Let's consider the dollar, because we saw gold pop up to that monthly pivot, and then just, I mean, it got spanked really at that
Hammered.
level. I mean, it came down pretty hard. And you know, in a very short period. It's not that it's come down a long way necessarily, but it came down in a very short period. And if we consider why that's the case, well, what happened yesterday was that we saw the US economy starting to level off a little bit. Now that the rhetoric has been, we're going to get these rate hikes. So if we stay with the rate hike theory, that Jerome Powell is going to stay with the rate hike theory, then that puts strength in the dollar. And we also start to see prices effectively just kind of curving off a little bit, which puts strength in the dollar. So we've got sort of two reasons that we've got this strength potentially coming into the dollar, which is going to affect things like gold. So gold did come off, in my opinion, because of that. Oil also started to come down yesterday, and I don't know, mate. You know, I'm going to bring this up. I'm going to have to keep my eye on this in the background, but. You are, do you know what this price is up here on the futures?
I think it'd be $77.
It is 76.95.
There you go.
76.95. So you are sounding more and more like a soothsayer by the. It's quite amazing. I mean, I have to say, I think you've picked out two pretty clean levels, and if this is about hunting for price. I think that you've proven that you know, you've got your finger on the pulse in two products that you claim not to know anything about. One is gold. You pick the top with coming out with profit, and the other one is WTI, where you pick the top within 5 cents. You pick the top. So I think there might be some sort of reverse that you might need to do on what you're trading, mate, because
I think so.
I looked at both of those and I thought, my goodness me, that is incredible. You know, when we started talking about gold a few days ago, I was pointing at a very, very high neckline, and then you brought in this trend line. We looked at that trend line, and then you said, well, that's actually in conjunction with the monthly pivot, and you were right on the money. I mean, it was crazy, mate. I looked at it yesterday and I thought, I should really trade this, because look at that monthly pivot. I mean, literally within $1 of that particular price point, and that's where it starts to tank to the downside. And as I say, you know, we're sort of the same with. We're the same with WTI. You know, you picked it within 5 cents. So I think there's something going on there.
Yeah, no, you know what's the most interesting, and I've never taken any notice of these charts, as you know, but
yeah,
when I look at that and I see the monthly pivot rejected and the daily pivot rejected, all in the same breath, basically.
Yeah.
It tells me everything. It tells me a whole lot about that particular commodity.
Right, which is.
It is that it respects those levels very, very nicely.
Yes.
You know, it's no fluke that, you know, both of those are strong moves. Strong move up, strong move down. Yeah. You know, it's no fluke that they stop where they stop.
Yeah, it's certainly looking like we maybe should be playing a little bit more gold and silver on the show. Sorry, gold and oil on the show from what you did there, mate. So I'm just flicking back to that chart because I just want to make sure I don't
making money out of it is the thing. It's one thing
Yeah,
seeing it,
well,
making money out of it's the other.
yeah, yeah, completely. But you know, I suppose that the interesting thing is if we just traded price yesterday, then we would have made money. We sold here and sold at the okay 77. We wouldn't get taken into the trade, but with this one, you did close the trade there. You know, you certainly closed half of it off, and I think you put the rest of it at break even. So we got either a free trade or certainly a profitable trade with gold, and it does look like it's still climbing. So we'll see what happens today. Now, if we think about the news that was released yesterday, it seemed to have I think quite an obvious reaction. You know, when those ISM numbers came out, it had an obvious reaction. That's what should have happened. It doesn't always happen like that, but that's what should have happened. We should have got a strong dollar. We did get a weakening in equities, and we did get a weakening with gold. Now today we've got the FOMC minutes. Now I don't know really what the weight of the FOMC minutes are due to be today, because I haven't really looked, but I do know that they are due, and they're due at 7 p.m. UK time.
I actually think that'd be extremely interesting because of the reaction to the market, which, as you know, I thought was an overreaction. So reading the detail into what was actually said may well point towards what the market reacted to. And you know, to me, it was never said. It may have been intimated, but it was never said that there were going to be interest rate rises, in my opinion.
Well, but this is where I think the FOMC minutes could potentially be a fascinating release, because
absolutely.
if like me, you kind of heard what Jerome Powell said, and it sounded hawkish. And also what he was kind of saying was, I trust the unemployment numbers. I trust that the fact that this inflation probably isn't as transitory as we first said. Then we get the PMIs coming out and saying, well, so this is why. So because I trust it, I think we're going to need to start to figure out the dot plot, and the dot plot is going to be in 2023. Then we get these numbers coming out, and they are saying, actually, Jerome, you might have you might have gone too early for a change, because the inflation now does look more transitory. The last few numbers that we've had, unemployment numbers have popped up. PMIs are popping down. The manufacturing PMIs are popping down. So we've actually got numbers that don't agree with Jerome Powell. And that's why this now becomes even more fascinating, because what does he go in and say? You know, the market are going to, the press are going to ask him, what do you think now, Jerome? You know, are you now still going for 2023? And that puts us in this kind of potential bullish situation, certainly with the FTSE and other equities, until we get that 7 o'clock speech. So that coming back to the FTSE is the reason that I'm quite happy going long, and I think gold is a potential long as well at these levels, because now we're kind of above, if you like, the sell zone. If we bring this to a 4 hour, it might be just a little bit cleaner. This is the sell zone here. I'm just going to make sure that's right on the daily. There's the sell zone there on the daily. So let's see if that's the same on the 4 hour. Yeah, it is here. So we're above the 4 hour. We're above the sell zone on the 4 hour. A little bit problematic down at the daily pivot, but it certainly, when we opened up, it looked like we were going to be bouncing between these two pivots. But now we're above this sell zone. That makes this 70.54 on the futures, which is going to be around about 71.12, 71.10 on the FTSE cash. That makes that a buy zone now. And I don't see why the market would sell off before Jerome Powell comes and says what he says, because I think there's an anticipation that he might actually give the market what they need, and he might come back and say maybe 2023 could be too early, maybe it isn't. And back to your kind of original point, he said nothing. Maybe he falls back on that. Maybe he falls back on the fact that,
gee, you're going to see the dollar sink if he does that.
Yes, you would, and that's why we see gold surge. Yeah. That's why we see that the equity surge and everything else. So gold is still a buy, and it is going to be dependent on what's said later to determine how much of a buy we have, and also it's going to be a question of, do we get in now with gold with an almost guesstimate of what might be said, and it, you know, that's always a little bit more dangerous. So I'm not sure whether we've necessarily got an opportunity, but what I'm saying, I guess, is that if we are in sell zones on gold and the FTSE, we buy it. If we're in buy zones on gold and the FTSE, we buy it. If we're in sell zones on gold and the FTSE, we probably shouldn't do anything, you know, because I think that the way the market is opened up, the sentiment this morning is definitely strong, and it looks like it's more to the upside than anything else. But you know, I'm not sure whether we're going to get it. We should get an opportunity to buy the FTSE, but I can't justify it. And I haven't been able to justify it, you know, as the market opened up this morning. There just wasn't the opportunity, even for a quick smash and grab. It was too fast. It just went too fast, and we've only gone kind of 16 pips, but the first 7 of those were the first second of when the market opened up. It was incredibly strong. So we're looking for an opportunity. We're looking for signals. That could mean that we're waiting for the US session. You know, we might not even get it this morning. And the way that the market looks at the minute, it's looking unlikely that we are going to get it this morning. But that would suggest later in the day. So I think I'm on hold at this particular stage, mate, and I think most people will be. I'll be interested to hear what Ainsley's got to say about oil, because that and I haven't again seen what's happened with OPEC, but from what I gather, they didn't come to an agreement. And with no agreement, actually, that's pretty bullish for oil, because that means that the current kind of rate of supply is going to remain, even though the UAE wanted to change that. So while we were in a situation of uncertainty, oil was kind of doing its thing. But now we kind of know that we possibly go back to the original supply situation, then oil should strengthen. And looking at the oil stocks this morning, BP up 1.93%, so up nearly 2%, and Royal Dutch Shell up 3%, and just overtaking AstraZeneca as it goes as the biggest company on the FTSE 100. AstraZeneca actually down 1% this morning, strangely. So not sure what that's about. Actually, health stocks aren't doing too well this morning. Not sure if there's a story going on there that I'm not on top of.
No, I can't help you there, buddy. It's not my thing.
Okay, well, yeah. So, but actually, you know, when I look at the FTSE and I see Barclays, HSBC, Royal Dutch Shell, and you know, the likes of Rio Tinto and BP, that is suggesting energy stocks, commodity stocks, and banking stocks all doing well. That usually points to higher.
Yeah, that doesn't go with my currency theory, which was I think the currency theory is we're looking at a risk off scenario, but it doesn't sound like that and doesn't look like that on your chart.
No,
anyway.
no, it's absolutely. There's no question at this stage that is not the case. And I've looked at the news, and I don't know if I can share. I suppose I can, but let's bring it in if I can. Can I do it? Oh, maybe it's this actually. Are you getting my screen? I don't think it's sharing my screen. I think it's just deciding to share the chart. So I'm just going to do a new share here and look at this. Oh, here we go. Yeah, we can do that. That's better. That's better, isn't it?
We have Forex Factory. Yep.
Yeah, Forex Factory. So what, you know, this is the other thing that we've got to consider. What's the driver today? And it's literally, there's nothing throughout the whole of the UK open period. You know, there's nothing at all. So with no driver, we're really looking at this FOMC, and that's not until, you know, the UK's closed up, not until here. And I think that there's every chance that the FTSE will you know, potentially, okay, maybe stay in a range, but on the whole, it's probably likely to ignore this until tomorrow. So that also kind of puts the FTSE in positive in a positive zone. So yeah, not going to be too easy to jump on board today at this particular stage, but I don't see anything here which suggests that sentiment's changing, and you can see, as everybody else can, that sentiment's pretty positive so far.
Yeah, not seeing that in the currency pairs. In particular, you know, those big reversal bars on things like Aussie and Kiwi Swissy, Aussie Swissy, suggesting to me that the market has gone risk off over that brief period last night.
Is it possible, mate, that because sometimes there's obviously two things that move every market. There's kind of micro factors and there's macro factors. Is it possible that we're looking at the Aussie yen with a micro factor? We're talking about potential lockdowns in Australia right now. We're talking about a yen which on the other side of the boat, which does start to, it is kind of like seeing sort of like that deflation, which is popping the yen into a slightly more strong territory. We're looking at a yen which is also going through a relatively strong seasonal period. COT data suggests that people are buying the yen. COT data suggesting that they're a little bit more, I guess, languid on the Aussie. So are we possibly looking at micro factors?
And throw into that we also had 7 months of yen weakness, 7 months in a row of yen weakness. So it was in the sell zone at the end of the day. All those pairs, in other words, yen long.
Yes, yeah. So possibly these micro factors are driving us today rather than the macro factors. But because as you say, mate, there's no question that the FTSE is strong today. Let's just quickly bring up the VIX futures as well and look where it is. I mean, when we first heard that news yesterday, surged to the upside with the VIX, but look where it is now. It's just drifting. I mean, this is not indicative of a day which is risk off. This is still very much risk on, and we could check some of these futures out. Nasdaq futures popping to the upside, S&P futures popping to the upside. Pretty sure the Nikkei is having a decent session as well. Not too bad. It's a little bit caged down here, but as the day opens up, it starts down here. So the Nikkei is also higher than when we first opened up. Dollar's a little bit kind of stationary, if you like, right now. That suggests a drifting to the downside as well. So it looks like the kind of let's have a look at WTI also popping to the upside since the open was down around about here, is slightly higher. It looks like the other macro indicators are suggesting that we are risk on. That Aussie yen, as I say, might be more micro than anything else. So I'm not sure whether we should use the yen quite as closely as we normally would.
Interesting. How about the momentum then? Take out the sentiment side of things. How about the momentum in those reversal bars yesterday, of which there were many, certainly on the currency pairs? And not just reversal bars, they were big bastards.
Can we have a look at one of them?
You can have a look at Kiwi Swissy, you can have a look at Aussie yen, you can have a look at anything against the yen. The yen just went nuts.
Well, the way that I would view this is in the same way that I would view this. Because everything did it. So yes, there was this kind of broad brush of, get rid of stuff. So what we were looking at yesterday was this, because these are the factors that this is definitely an opinion. It's not a fact, or it's not an absolute. These are the factors that I think were at play yesterday. We have got a weakening, strong but weakening economy in the US. So now we're getting a leveling off of the growth that we've been seeing for the last year. So that puts earnings and everything else. Now the market has been overbought. The market has been overinflated at these particular levels. Then we get this weakening off. The ISM numbers on at the start of the week and the start of the month and yesterday were both showing growth, but at a weaker pace. Now, on top of that, you've got the potential for the Fed to still be strengthening the dollar. Now, the way that you would want the market to go is weaker economy, weaker dollar, because you'd be a more expansive, if you like, more expansive policy. Weaker economy, more expansive policy to enable the economy to start picking up. But what we had yesterday were the two things that you don't want: a weakening economy and potentially a tightening of policy. That was what we were dealing with when those numbers were released. Now, as the dust has settled, we're starting to go, that may not be the case. Let's wait and hear what the FOMC's got to say. But if the FOMC comes out and effectively, says what they said before and says we are still going with our dot plot of 2023 or whenever it was 2022, then that puts us back into weakening economy, tightening policy, which is exactly what the equities and the risk on situation does not want. So now the dust has settled, we're starting to go sideways because we've got no certainty. But certainly just on a comment kind of basis, those two things are a factor, and they were a factor when those numbers were released yesterday, because at that time we're still looking for the Fed to start to tighten. So as soon as the numbers come out, we're like, well, that's not going to be good if the Fed do tighten. So I think that's why we have the big tanking, and I think that because the markets have been so buoyant. And as you said, you listed all those currencies that the yen has been weak against for 5 months or whatever it is. We're looking at the same with the Nasdaq. There's looking at the same with the S&P. We're looking at the same with the FTSE. These markets are overheated to a degree, and they will certainly look overheated if we are leveling off on that expansive the expansion that we've had with a tightening policy. So that's the reason I think that we have the reaction. I mean, I could be completely wrong, but that seems logical to me.
Yeah, well, logic works for me. If it's absolutely understandable, then that makes sense, and if it makes sense, then I can deal with that. What I struggle to deal with is when things happen without reason and without cause.
Yeah.
It then becomes okay. Why is that? But sometimes I think that's actually better, because I then get into the mind of those who seek to destroy, and and that gives me a far better indicator, if you like, as to what's going on. Because really what I'm saying is, if this didn't happen because of logic, then this is going to happen completely illogically.
Yes.
And my scrambled mind and my upside down thinking gets me into those positions where I'm completely comfortable.
Yeah.
If A isn't going to happen.
I don't think I still think that we can explain this. I mean, that's the way that's the way that I would kind of square the circle. With the things I've said. Now, let's just have a look in the chat room, mate, as well. So John got profit at 1806, came in at 1775. John, I thought we were looking at 1813. I thought you were going to hold that. That might be the vaccines made under license. Is that to do with AstraZeneca, John? And I mean, Glaxo are down today as well. They're not even in the vaccine game. I'll catch. Okay, I was reading reading a report on the EU Medicines Agency. Okay, would only recognise AstraZeneca approved and made in the EU. Okay, maybe so. Ainsley's in. Great stuff. The message under the hood is AstraZeneca made in the ECC, UK approved. However, AstraZeneca made under license is agreed, is an area of concern. That's interesting. Do you know, it's really interesting because the AstraZeneca, out of all the vaccines that were created, AstraZeneca in the UK has had the worst press.
In Australia as well, mate, I can tell you. It's unbelievable.
Right.
It's not so much...
to the point, people have been waiting for an option, because when you went to get your vaccine, you had to have what was on offer. And most of the time it was AstraZeneca. Now they've got to the point where the people that haven't had the vaccine, they're offering them whatever they want. So people are going now for Pfizer. Most people are now sort of like having Pfizer instead of AstraZeneca. But
well, we don't have a choice, because our Prime Minister forgot to order any Pfizer.
Yeah.
That's how it would appear.
Well, and you have to question, don't you? What's the financial connection with the Australian government and AstraZeneca, and the same with the UK government?
Indeed, you do.
Sorry. Well, anyway, mate, we probably should get to Ainsley, unless you've got anything you'd like to add.
No, we've been triggered short on Euro Swissy. That's the only other news I've got at the moment. Everything else is kind of in a holding position. But yeah, let's bring Ainsley in and ask the big question. Is this the beginning, or was that a false start yesterday?
Yeah, and also what was the end result as well? I don't think either Jeff and I are up on that. I mean, I know there was we both know there was a meeting, but we don't know what was the end result.
Oh, so we're talking oil now. Okay.
What were we talking oil, Jeff?
I wasn't, but
oh, what were you talking about?
He was talking gold. You're talking oil. I am a woman. I can split my brain.
Well, so, Jeff was first. So I'll answer Jeff's first, and then we'll come to mine.
So obviously there was a big rally on the US dollar last night. So gold just spat the dummy. But I do believe, because it's back up again, up over 1800 this afternoon, and heading not south. So, and when I looked at if you could just pull up a gold chart, if you wouldn't mind, actually, that'd be good. So I was going to say that. You're on an alley chart and going, huh? Okay.
What would you like?
Yeah, where that long red bar that came back down, it's also bouncing on a thing called the 20 EMA.
Okay.
So it's
and yesterday's daily pivot and the trend line. That's interesting.
Yeah, it is. So we had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 green bars up, and then we had a retracement before that when that news came out. So, a bit technical.
You like the simple,
where it is.
You like simple or exponential?
Exponential on the close and blue, please.
Yeah. I thought you were an SMA girl.
I thought
only with the 200. Only with the 200. The 20, the 50, the 100 are all exponentials. My 200 is a simple moving average, and the only reason that is because it's bog standard. That's what a lot of other traders, commercial traders, will use. And I'm not trying to create or reinvent the wheel. I'm just following what they're looking at. So
it likes it, doesn't it? It likes it on the 4 hour.
It does. It does.
It really does. Coming down here, little pop through, but struggles, and then
add a 50 on there, Ash, and then you'll be looking at some very interesting setup.
Well, I was saying earlier on, that he's been like a soothsayer over the last couple of days. He's picked gold and he's picked oil to the penny. Like pretty much, he picked oil to 5 cents, and he's picked gold to around about I don't know, 30 cents or something.
Yeah, so we got to 18.15 last night.
So we need to know this stuff. So so Jeff's going to put a 20 and a 50 on his chart.
18.13 was ours, Ash.
18.13. Okay, so we're within a couple of dollars. There you go. So these are the two moving averages you need to have, Jeff.
Yeah,
okay.
So that I like to look at.
No, I don't. But I'm absolutely bowing to Ainsley's method of doing this. That's fine.
Just on the way of looking at it, because
it's just not mine.
Yeah, and everybody's different. Mind you, I look at pivots and moving averages, and then I've got a few indicators underneath, and that suits me because that's what I've got. That's what I got used to looking at.
Yeah, cool. Yeah.
So yeah, so we had a good run up there, and you can see it's flipped around from Friday night onwards with NFPs, and then it just went nowhere, and Monday was quiet because of more 4th of July holiday. So yeah, and then when the opportunity but what I've been reading is central banks are interested in buying gold at the moment.
Well, they've been buying for a while, haven't they? I mean, they've been accumulating for some time.
Look, and I think the market the chart would tell you, no, nobody's been vaguely. It's almost like gold, what gold? Who? So, those periods of consolidation where nothing happens, you can't tell me that the central banks are in there buying up. We had a false breakout and to the downside, and then we've had this move upwards. But I believe it's going to keep. I think we're already at the beginning of the seasonal move. The seasonal move is normally it starts around the 7th to the 9th of July. So end of the first week of July. And look what we've already seen. And I just think just with everything that's happened, it's really starting to kick in. So I've got a few, we tried to scale in last night, and we had a couple of positions on, and hopefully with the trade management, because pull the trade management up and protect downside before going into another trade. So that's what we had. And if you know, using pivots as levels and all the rest of it, but because I tend to go in for a longer term on my trades, I'm not an intraday trader. I just sort of hang about and wait. So
sorry, mate. Can I then with
whoa.
This must
Just
be a
quickly,
subject.
only-
It must
only
be a
because
topic.
The pivot thing. This looks interesting. Like so far, bounce there, bounce here, bounce here. I mean, you know, every single one of these pivots which were rising has been respected.
Yeah. So you might have heard me over the last little while, Ash, say gold loves levels.
Yeah, yeah.
It
Sorry,
really
Jeff.
loves levels, and it loves the 20 EMA. That's one of the reasons I have it on there as well. Is you watch it
One here.
consolidate, it just loves it. It just bounces. Or if I see with a you know 3 or 4 small bars on my 4-hourly chart that can't go above the 20 EMA, it is it's going to go south. It's going to drop. So
Tell you what, Jeff, you got to be getting sold on this.
huh?
On what?
On this pivot bounce thing.
Yeah.
Well, as you know, I said that's where it's going, to the monthly
Yeah.
pivot. Because of course I'm interested in the pivots. But what I'm really interested in, the question I wanted to ask, is if we traded this on the weekly chart, right? So if you could put the weekly up, Ash, please.
Yeah.
And I want to see what those squiggly little blue and red things do with the weekly.
Now, why'd you do that, Ash?
So it's because if I put the weekly chart up with pivots, it becomes really messy. So let me
Oh, yeah. Okay.
let me add the squiggly things again. So you want
Extended moving average.
We dissected the crap out of this on Monday, I think it was.
Did you?
And yeah, well, you see, you couldn't trade that with that squiggly line on there because you're trading straight into it. You've got to wait for it to break.
But down on the 4-hourly where I get my entries, they look pretty nice. Dodger blue. Roger Dodger.
Yeah. We probably, if we're looking at those pivots, we probably stay out of that, Ash, rather than trade the
even
bar.
if you're looking at that on the weekly, you look at it, but that long, you know, we're looking at there was more to it on my analysis right across, and that included fib lines, that included a dip down to the 1750 mark last week on that pin bar.
That's what we traded. We traded that pin bar.
Yeah, so that's what you're looking at. You're looking at all sorts of things. I know it's just really technical gold, isn't it, Ash, when you start dissecting it?
Yeah, well, it is. It's interesting, really, gold, because it's quite similar to the cryptocurrencies in some respects, in the way that it does seem to really like levels. It does seem to have a lot of respect for levels.
I mean, we said this at the time. That's a classic bear trap that's just been sprung, really.
Yeah. Yeah, but I was saying to Jeff, because Jeff and I, you know, we have dissected this, and I had this inverted head and shoulders level on the closing prices. So, you know, but much easier to see on the
line chart.
On the line chart. We can see it's pretty clean on that, you know. So we have this inverted head and shoulders, left shoulder, right shoulder, right shoulder, and the head down here. So I really liked that level. But then Jeff had a look at it and pointed out that actually, if we use the upper trend line as well, then we may well have a target. And it literally just reacted to it. It was so clean, you know. I mean, we can tighten this up a little bit, but over here. Just there.
So look, I go with what I can see, and if it goes back down, it goes back down. But you know, I'm not betting the house on it. By the way.
It looks good though, doesn't it? I mean, when you sort of like look at this on a 4-hour, you know, this is a definite breakout of this particular pattern.
Breakout, retest of the consolidation area. We had the fake last week. In fact, the fake moved breakout, retest down to 1750, back up into the consolidation. Survived NFP as it flicked around and went straight back into the consolidation, back out, back retested the top level of the consolidation box and looking to move higher.
Yeah. I'll tell you what I really like about it is the fact that it seems to respect moving averages, pivots, and most importantly, it seems to respect price points. You know,
Yes.
when you draw trend lines and horizontal levels, it seems to really like price points.
Yeah, I've taught it well, haven't I?
You've trained it really well. Yeah, loving it. Okay, well,
So
let's talk about,
where to now, mate? How do we get our next signal?
Look, at the moment, I'm just waiting to see a bit more. We're for a bit more information at the moment. Like you said, it could be a bear trap on the weekly. It could go back lower. You've got a fairly large engulfing bar there, and I just want to make sure this is not, you know, three bars up in a downtrend that I'm looking at. You know, I just want to make sure that we are on our way. Seasonal buyers. This is a strong seasonal bias, by the way. July, August through to September. There's a turbo boost area between the 10th and the 18th of September, I think it is. And there's another one around the 20th, the 23rd of July, where it goes really, really quickly up in the market. So it's just that period of time. And it just, you know, you go back 53 years on gold, and there's only about 2 or 3 years where it doesn't really want to play ball.
I have to say, I'm getting this feeling in my stomach that this thing is just going to fly. That's what it feels like. It feels like gold is just ramping up, just kind of like, you know, drawing people in, and it is just getting ready just to pop. And yeah, it's going to pop hard.
I hope so. That's when I hope that I have the house bet on it, and it does fly up all the way up to 3,000.
Yeah.
Other than that, we're just going to have to take it one day at a time and 1 4-hourly chart at a time.
Would you anticipate this, you know, as a potential kind of signal? Would you kind of want to look for something where price comes up and back into here, and test the monthly pivot?
Test that upper level with that 1915 level, or the pivot, which was around 1913.
Yeah.
1813.
So we could be looking
getting ahead of yourself.
1813.
Do you know what I've tried to do for the last couple of weeks is dry July.
Don't be ridiculous, Ainsley.
I'm homeschooling next week. The two are not compatible.
Yeah.
Nothing's compatible with dry July.
You've managed a couple of hours then.
So lockdown extended and homeschooling. They said lockdown extended for a week, and then Kerry Chant said two interesting words. So she's the New South Wales health practitioner or whatever, chief health and medical officer, and she said, for at least.
Oh, ouch.
At least a week. And I just went, she said at least. She didn't say for a week. She said for at least a week. Those two little words can just change the landscape very, very quickly.
So the bottle opener came out when she said at least.
It's like,
drive the lights out of the window. So
July. No.
Can we move on to talking about oil? I don't know if it's because we're on the same topic. Do you have any opinion about silver, or do you not really touch it?
I don't touch it, so I don't know what moves it, apart from the fact it moves like gold. But I haven't done enough research into it to actually make a comment on it.
Okay.
What about your other new favorite shiny metal?
Copper should be going up, but it had a little heart attack as well with what happened with copper a couple of weeks ago was China decided the price was too high. So they had ramped it up, and then they stockpiled it, and then they flattened the price substantially. So China's having a little bit of a few hissy fits with a few companies and a few bits and pieces, and they didn't like the price of some of the commodities, and yeah. Anyway, so gold, I'm out of copper for a while until it comes back into a slightly better mode of movement, i.e. not flicking around all over the place.
That's a really interesting chart.
What's that, the silver one? Yeah, doesn't look
because
as good as
it's giving me an ascending triangle. It's also giving me a double top and a lower high.
Do you
What's
think
it on a daily?
this is on a weekly here? I mean, on a weekly, it certainly looks kind of bearish.
Yeah, it certainly does.
You're looking at this, Jeff, right?
Yep.
Mm.
That's a pretty substantial double top and low high.
I have to say, I could not trade gold long if silver looks weak. That brings us down to the $20 area. Goodness, that's
I said there's a few things. I mean, you could argue both ways at the moment with what we're looking at on a gold chart.
Yeah. Don't like that at all. I mean, you know, silver comes down to $20, then I would be interested. But actually, that really does that would put the frighteners up me somewhat.
The difference is I haven't read anywhere that central banks are looking to stockpile silver.
No.
The fact that they want to buy gold and they've interested in buying gold again, that article certainly piqued my interest on Monday.
Yeah. I could certainly understand why. This is yeah.
Oil.
So now oil. Does it use these? Do you like these moving averages with oil or not really?
Look, I've got them on all my charts anyway. But the thing is, look at the level that oil had the little hissy fit at. It didn't get quite to 77, Jeffy. No. It got to 76.
Just within a gnat's dick, though, isn't it? Really?
Do you know what? It got the high here is 76. The high is at 76.95 on the futures.
So yeah, it didn't quite get to 77, but we got close.
Oh, 5 cents.
I mean, seriously, arguing Saudi is, and they're doing it again. Honestly, these boys, they're flexing their muscles. They were meant to have this nice little meeting. They were meant to agree to an increase, a lifting of their restrictions on what they would, they've been restricted. They were going to lift those restrictions only 500,000 barrels per day. They had a meeting and they agreed on 400,000 barrels a day. This is Saudi. This is at the OPEC meeting, and Russia and Saudi were, yep, that sounds good, that's lovely. And then for some reason, Saudi at the last minute decided, well, actually, no, we don't want to do 400,000. We want to do a lot more. And it's just like, oh, for God's sake, this is what stuck you guys in the derriere last year. And it's just like this argument all over again, just 14 months later, not 12 months later.
So where did the UAE come in? Because I thought there was some sort of standoff between Saudi and the UAE.
So it was actually Saudi and Russia initially. If the UAE got in there, and you've got everybody else is going to be starting to jump up and down, because as soon as one agrees, you know, if they've got an agreement, it should hold for all of them. And just because Saudi does tend to flex their muscles because they're the largest and they're the most powerful, then they think it's all okay. But it's not going to wash. Otherwise, you're going to have everybody just flooding the market again, and oil will come down.
So where are we now, eh? I mean, what is the agreement sealed, or are we basically back to where we were before the meeting even started?
I'll have a little look at the 4-hourly chart. So here we are, we're talking about before we on our run up to 76. So they're saying on the run up to 76, they're saying, yes, we're going to agree to restrict the supply of oil, which means there's less oil about. And then look what happens when they start to discuss things like, well, actually, we don't want to stick to our restrictions. We want to produce more than what we agreed to. Comes flying back down again. It's just like, oh, here we go again.
But we're up today. I've got Royal Dutch Shell up almost 2.5%, BP up 1.5% nearly. So there's some positivity again with the oil market. So where are we at now? Are we restricting? Are we not restricting? Are we just back to business as usual before the meeting?
I haven't heard anything yet, and Maybe there'll be something more out today, but this evening. But at the moment, it's just like, but you can see how sensitive they are to that the market is to the threat of the market being flooded with lifting restrictions more than agreed to. Market really happy with supply being restricted, not so happy when it's not being restricted, and people are going, countries are going to go off and do their own thing, and all of a sudden the market, it just flew down last night. Absolutely flew down. Now you wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of that trade at all, because it took you right down. But now you can see it's just sitting there, it's going sideways because there hasn't been a decision. Once there's been a decision, I think we'll see it crank back up again. But if you pull back out, you might see that that whole chart is on a nice trend line there, by the way. Yeah, close enough.
Yeah, it's close enough. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's just, it's going up, it's going up, it's going up. So and you're going to have that kind of mishmash because it just choked. It just got to a level and went, ugh, what?
Charts to me are relatively uncertain at the minute. There's just a bit of a lack of clarity. I'm just watching the FTSE 100 just weaken off a little bit. So let me see if there's a trade here that we can take.
So yeah, where we're going to next will obviously depend on what agreement comes off.
Yeah. Now this is a buy zone.
So tell me, while you're just nattering there, how's it with COVID numbers in the UK?
I mean, they're picking up quite substantially, but we're also coming out of lockdown. So I wonder whether we're just about to make a huge error of judgment. I wonder if Boris Johnson's about to make a huge error of judgment. My biggest problem is that they're lifting everything, so even face masks and social distancing. Which doesn't make any sense. I mean, it's like, okay, let's open the economy back up, let's open everything back up again, but we can still take baby steps. I mean, there is a spike in cases. Delta's becoming, very problematic, and as things open up, we've got the Euros going on over here right now. 60,000 people were in Wembley a few weeks ago. People are starting to move again. So inevitably there's going to be a pickup in cases, which is why I don't understand the lifting of face masks specifically, and why I don't understand that the social distancing still having some kind of implementation. So it's going to be a difficult 6 months, I think, probably globally, but I think in the UK it's going to be a difficult 6 months. What they don't want is to open up and shut down again. And I think they'll avoid that, because what we are seeing is a spike in cases, but they're being less pressure on the NHS, which is that was always the question when we started this whole thing. What was the pressure on the NHS? And this is where you kind of recognise that governments are actually pretty heartless, because last year it looked like they were doing the right thing, but the reason, for the right reasons. But the reason they were doing that is because the NHS was literally at breaking point.
Worldwide.
Worldwide, but this year the cases are almost worse than they were last year, but they're not being hospitalised. So the government is just going, just open up. Last year it was like, we better lock down to save everybody. This year it's like, we were just open up. So it's like, well, you weren't really looking to save people. You're just making sure that all the function, all the services are not getting overrun. And you might
10,000 deaths.
What's that? Sorry.
Didn't you have 10,000 deaths?
When?
Last year?
It was a whole bunch more than that. It was closer to 100,000.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
What they said was, if we get to 10,000, then we've done really well. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. But yeah, there's definitely a spike in cases. This thing is far from over, and I don't know what happens next. Is the thing. It's really difficult. It's really difficult.
Scary. My goddaughter she's just finished her exams, her final exams at Oxford University, and there was quite a few parties happening in the dormitories, and she got COVID and been really sick, and she was scheduled to have her first Pfizer shot this weekend.
Right.
But with all the people coming in and out of the dormitories, she said it's been horrid. No sense of taste, no sense of smell, quite unwell, and terrible hacking cough and terrible headaches. So it's scary. It's out there, and I think until we are vaccinated, as
Exactly.
you said.
Well, I mean, some of the problem is that the people that are vaccinated are still passing it on to everybody else. You know, this that's the issue. That's really one of the issues, is that and as I said a few days ago, there was a very prominent reporter over here called Andrew Marr, who was double vaccinated, and he said he felt king of the world, no problem at all. Then he got COVID, and he got COVID bad. He said it was very, very close to hospitalization again. And this is my problem with it, is that the vaccination, I think, is probably, it's almost a bit of a misnomer. It's making people feel a lot more confident than they should do. It should be really another layer to the social distancing and to the masks. But to go, right, we're all vaccinated, just go back to normal life, that's just not it's not logical, because people are still getting sick.
But the other answer to that is shut down the world indefinitely, and you can't do that. That's not going to work.
I don't think you need to shut the world down, but I do think that the masks have helped. So if you vaccinate, still have masks, and still have an element of social distancing, then you're probably in pretty good shape. I don't think you need to shut things down. I just think you need to be, as going through pretty much what we've been through, but a little bit looser. But still make people wear masks, and still make the hand sanitizers when you go in stores and all that stuff. Even though you've been vaccinated, I think that's the thing that will do the real good. Just by vaccinating and just letting everybody just get back out there, doesn't look like it's going to work, because people are still getting COVID from that are vaccinated.
It was never a panacea. It was never going to stop you getting COVID. That was always a misnomer. It was always going to be a lesson. You're going to get a less effect,
right? Exactly.
By taking the vaccine. Now, we've also got to remember that vaccines don't generally happen overnight, and these vaccines that we're currently taking are, for want of a better word, emergency relief. I'll put it that way. So I would imagine going hell for leather still are scientists all over the world trying to improve those. So, I don't know how many moons down the track we're talking, but that will all improve itself. So in the meantime, the best we can do is vaccinate for what's available. And I believe that, what we've got. And if our Prime Minister would get off his ass and actually order some Pfizer, that'd be pretty good.
Yeah.
One job, Jeff. One job. That's all he has.
Yeah, that's right.
One job.
If we're saying that there's the group of people that won't, they say it's a violation of human rights and they won't wear the mask. I don't get that. I don't understand. I've never really understood the argument of not wearing a mask. I mean, I've got a friend who won't wear a mask, and I was like, why not? Well, I don't understand the problem with that.
I totally agree with Swee's comment, but there are people that just think that the whole thing is about them, and it's not. It's about your community and protecting everybody around you as well. And the idea of, they're saying with everybody being vaccinated, or 80% of the population, 70% or 80%, the transmission is going to be less, the herd immunity. It's not, as you said, it's not a panacea, it's not the be all and end all. It is the ability to actually just try and restrict the transmission of this stuff. Now, one of the reasons we're going to be stuck with homeschooling and stuck indoors is because the teachers are, the Delta variant is apparently very highly transmissible, and it is transmissible through younger people. So we've got a 30-year-old in ICU in Sydney at the moment. There are 3 schools just down the road from me that got infected. They had students who got infected with the Delta variant, and they're closed. And the teachers, there's been a lot of rumbling in the background. They're saying, hang on, the teachers are going, well, stop. We're going back to school next week. We're not frontline workers. We're not, half the teachers aren't over 50 or whatever it is. they're just saying, well, we don't want to go back with the Delta variant running, but and we're face to face with these kids all over the place. So that's one of the reasons we're back homeschooling, and our economy is just stalling. And it's just, you know, there was no trip to Sydney, was there, Jeff? I'm not going to Hamilton on Sunday night.
Yeah, it's the flip, because actually when this whole thing first started, I think the rest of the world were congratulating Australia for how well they handled it.
Yeah, and then we had a leader that decided that taking some tricky questions and trying to be popular was a better option and an easier option. Yeah. So, like I said, one job, just one job. You had to make sure.
And you know, Helen's point: the virus is real, but the reporting is awful. And I think that is
agree, Helen.
It's in a nutshell, isn't it? And that's the problem. That's why there's been so much confusion. There's been so much fear. There's been so much everything else. But the reason for that, Helen, really, is that every man and his dog and girl is a reporter, because the social media means that anybody can basically, you know, they can splurge whatever rubbish they want. And they won't get picked up on it, because there is now a vehicle and a platform for any of us to say what we want, which is, you know, completely unfounded. So it's not just about COVID that we're getting bad information. It's just about anything you want. You know, anything you want, we can provide bad information for, and it becomes very difficult to know who to trust. You know, so
trust the influencers, mate. They've got their finger on the pulse.
Yeah.
But I really want to know when washing your hands became a government directive.
Well, it's not.
Was here. Wash your hands. Hand sanitize. I mean, you wash your hands. I mean, you just do it. It's
oh well.
Hygiene.
You would think so. You would think so. I know. I know people that don't do that.
And you don't sneeze on people, and you cover your mouth. And okay, for the majority of morons here, they do need a mask, because some people just don't get social spaces.
Just get a funky one. I mean, I was thinking of, you know, designing some cool Batman masks and Spider-Man masks. I mean, you know, if
trading buddy masks. There you go.
Now
they'll sell. Yeah,
they'll go hot.
Yeah. You'll have to set up an Amazon store. Your side hustle for when this trading thing.
They could be the prize for the quiz winner. Trading buddy mask.
That's a good idea, mate. Do you know what? It costs us more in shipping than it would to actually make the mask, though.
Well, yeah. Guys. How about 3D printers?
That's what we need. That's what we need. A friend of mine said that he used to work in the 3D printing world, and he thought it was going to be the next big thing. And for some reason, they just still haven't taken off.
Oh, did you see sustainable housing in Africa for it's 3D printing?
Is it?
I did see that. Yes.
Yeah.
Wow.
That was huge. I was just like, holy moly. So yeah, that's an interesting. I think it will, but you know, I think the pandemic sort of got it in the vein.
Maybe too expensive. Maybe that's why it didn't initially take. But it's it's a brilliant idea, isn't it? But as you say, man, I mean, that'd be awesome if we could just program in all the parameters, and somebody a 3D printer somewhere else can print it off for us.
I still don't get it though, because if you want to write on a page or print on a page, you put ink in the printer, right? And that costs truckloads of money, as you know, ink. Yeah. So what do you put in the printer when you want a house?
Concrete. I mean, I guess it would be a specific type of printer for every single function, wouldn't it? Maybe where it's just the technology is just too broad. But I mean, there's a few things on the horizon, I think, that are starting to look interesting. I don't know if you've seen that robot by Boston Dynamics. It's a dog. And for quite some time, it looked quite cumbersome, and it did a few things. But yesterday, I saw a video of it dancing around with a Korean K-pop band, and it looks brilliant. It looks like it is, the functionality just looks amazing. And we've got flying cars as well that are.
I saw that.
Yeah, all that on the horizon as well. So there's some.
Gee, that sounds like fun.
Yeah.
How many people get killed? How are they going to control all that?
But good question, mate. Good question. I guess that's where you'd want them to be. Maybe you'd want them to be automated, so they can go and fly and across the correct paths.
give way to the right cloud. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
But I like Lewis's comment last week about recharging the electric plane midair.
Yeah.
That's
all
where
right,
lithium comes in, right?
let's or solar panels. I mean, surely that might keep it moving. And how much energy does a plane need in midair? I mean, you've got gliders that manage to.
I don't know. Something's got to keep the champagne cold.
Open the window. That'll work.
Yeah.
Get some fresh air. We're all complaining about recycled air.
Listen, all of these, can any of these ideas turn into a trade at the moment? I haven't got any trades, I've got to say.
Oh mate, the FTSE is the only one I'm after, but it won't come back, or it isn't coming back right now. I hoped that the last hourly bar, you can see this hourly bar here, would give us just a little bit of downside, so we could get in around about the daily pivots, to go long. But I'm not buying the top of that body comfortably. So I haven't got anything right now.
Yeah, look, I think
it might be that way until FOMC.
I know that's what you're going to say, and I think your early analysis on that was pretty spot on. The only thing that I would add, and I'm waiting for, as I said, those momentum shifts overnight. I'm waiting to see what happens on the daily charts in the morning, and if they're inside bars on those reversal bars, I'll be looking to go with the reversal bar, but I'll be trading the inside bar.
Yeah. So, okay.
I'm just waiting for a close above 1812 on gold before I look at it doing anything else at the moment.
Oh, okay. So we're looking for a long on gold on 1812. Okay.
Yeah, all right. Just to see whether it rejects for that level or that pivot. If it rejects that on the monthly and comes back down, at the moment it's sitting there going ka-chung, ka-chung, ka-chung. But let's just see, as you said, is it a potential bear trap setup? Is it the start of a move on the rally? Don't know. I need more information. Can go either way at the moment.
I think we've seen the bear traps sprung with the weekly candle. I think that was the trap, and we're out of that now. I think we're going long.
I think we were going on. Yeah, I just want to just be careful on that one because it was quite the reversal. Although we are stepping up nicely on the weekly pivot. Bit of mishmash at the beginning of this week.
Yeah, I think Ash is right. This gold won't be there tomorrow.
No, I don't think it will. But I do think there's going to be an opportunity to take this on before 7 o'clock. I think it's probably going to be in and around this area for the next few hours. It's probably not going anywhere, which suggests that if it gets the monthly pivot, it's probably a little sell there, but maybe not.
By the time it gets up there, if you keep that trend line in place, it's not got far to retrace before it takes off.
No.
You know what I mean? It's not going to be, if it gets up there, it's not going to be a deep retracement.
No, you're absolutely right, and that might be the trade to basically trade at this price, but after a pullback, and see if we get through the monthly pivot.
I don't think silver and gold are traveling together at the moment, Helen, in my humble opinion.
Very different looking charts.
Very different looking charts, absolutely. Absolutely, I think, and have done for a while. I've been looking at that silver because I think it is a real bear chart. Now, I also got one more thing to add, and that is that euro dollar has got an untested daily pivot, and as long as it doesn't break below 118, I think that's tradable all day long if you can get a setup that suits. You're too close to the daily pivot right now, but if it comes down and either matches the most recent 30-minute high at around about 118.10, it may well give you a short-term trade up to the daily pivot. That's if I'm in front of the charts, which I probably won't be for much longer. That would be a pretty good position to take if you can get it. I wouldn't go long euro dollar much after that, but I think if you can get 20 or 30 pips out of that, should be okay.
On the dailies, is that, mate?
30-minute chart, mate.
30, sorry. You're just looking for the daily pivot.
Yeah, but I need it to come down. I wouldn't trade it from where it is, but if it came down, and even if it gave you a higher low than the tweezers that are sitting there now, I think that would be okay.
Okay, all right. Well, let's wrap it up. Yeah, silver looks like it's heading down. So I'm thinking gold down too. Difficult one, that, Helen. We can't decide on that. I mean, gold looks long, silver looks short at this stage. So T-Trade's up and down. I'll tell you one thing. I mean, it's always a bit of a tricky one, but you could trade the spread and go. You could take a gold long and silver short, and depending on what happens later on, you're covered. But you are banking on the fact that gold will outperform, which if they both go down, you're banking on the fact that silver goes down shorter. But you could trade the hedge. I mean, that's, saying it out loud has got me interested in that. So I'm going to have a quick.
I've got a headache now.
Okay, guys, my eyes are killing me at the moment, so I'm trying to keep off the screens for a bit. So I'm going to.
Yeah, no worries.
Right,
we're wrapping as well anyway. So thank you to everybody for being in the room. Thanks for joining us today, thanks to you, Jeff. Thanks to Angel for looking after us. We'll see you tomorrow for the last time of the week for the quiz. Same trade time, same trade channel.
If I can come up with a, no, I won't say that. Won't promise anything. Okay, what he said.
Bye all.
Thanks,
Bye. Bye. Thanks.
See you, everyone.
Bye.
Have a great one. Bye-bye.